Okay, so as I've mentioned a couple of times, your first assignment is this professional email, this email of introduction. So we're going to talk about that now. In any piece of writing, any communication that we do this semester, and really in your life, any writing that you do, you should understand your purpose and audience. You should consider the setting of your writing, and you should define the document and the process that you're going to use. Much of this we do in our everyday lives without really thinking about it. It's natural when we send a text, write a grocery list, when, send an email to someone we know, comment on social media, something like that. That we have an innate understanding of what we're doing here. We are actually considering our purpose and audience. We're considering the setting. We're considering the document and the process, but we're just doing it without consciously thinking about it. But when we come to technical communication or any other formal kind of communication, we need to be a little more intentional about these things. So when it comes to writing your first assignment or any assignment, when you understand your purpose, you have to consider what you want your audience to know from your communication, what you want them to believe from your communication, what you want them to do. And this is all like after having read your document. What do you want them to know, believe, and do? Do you have multiple purposes? Because sometimes we do have multiple purposes. And if so, is there a hierarchy to those? Is one of those more important than the others? Keeping that in mind, and then, kind of making sure that you really emphasize the one that's most important is going to elevate your writing. And knowing your purpose isn't enough. You also have to understand your audience. So what problem is your audience trying to solve? I'm going to start you off on this one with these introductory emails. What problem am I trying to solve? Well, my big problem right now is that I don't know any of my students. You're all new to me, and our medium of online asynchronous is probably the most difficult one for getting to know students. So I'm trying to solve my problem of getting to know who my students are and what your experiences are, what your knowledge is, what your goals are, what your interests are, so that I can create a class that will address those things and meet your needs as well as meet the goals of the curriculum and the learning outcomes. How extensive is your audience knowledge of the subject? Do you need to limit the scope, the amount of technical detail, or the type of graphics you use? I mean, that one's not as important in this particular assignment, but it will be in many assignments, most of them. Does your audience already have certain attitudes or expectations about the subject that you wish to reinforce or change? Does your audience speak English well, or do you need to present the information in more languages? Does your audience share your cultural assumptions about organizing and interpreting documents? Does your audience include people with disabilities who have requirements you need to meet? So considering these different areas of audience will help you in deciding what information, how much information, and how you include it. The setting, sometimes we call that the context. What is the situation surrounding the problem you're trying to solve? Well, as I already mentioned, it's the beginning of a new semester. Is this a high-stakes project or a routine communication? What is the context in which your audience will use this communication? What will the ways in which they use it affect how you write? Will the document be used in a socially or politically charged setting? Does the setting include established norms of ethical behavior? Is the setting formal or informal? So again, considering all of these questions will help you to put together your document. Defining your document. What type of content will the document include? How will the content aid problem solving? Does your subject dictate what kind of document you will produce? Does your subject dictate what medium, print or digital, you will use for your content? Do you need to provide audiences with content in more than one medium? If you are using a document template, how should you modify it for your purpose and your audience? Does this document require a particular writing style or level of formality? And then defining your process. So what process will you use? Is there already an established process, or do you need to create a new one? Do you have the time for this, for all of the different parts of the process? Does your budget affect what you do, how you do it, the number of people you have on your team? Does your schedule limit how much information you can include? Does your schedule limit the type of document you can create, or the amount of document testing you could do if you needed to do testing for like instruction booklets and things? And will the document require updating or maintenance? Those again are all questions that you want to ask about process. So remember those 5 factors from the last video. Here are those 5 factors expanded upon with various questions. Again, you're going to want to refer to those anytime you're creating a document for this class, for your professional life. So your first assignment is to write an email introducing yourself to me, your professor. Before you get into that, you want to read the section Writing Emails on pages 247 through 249 in your textbook. You also want to create a list of the personal and professional qualities you want others to perceive in you. So this is kind of your prep work. You will not turn that list in. But you want to, who is this professional person that you want to portray in your first communication with me, your introduction. And then remember, every time you write, whether it's the introductory email or any of the other assignments we do, you want to be that person. This is what, we're talking about, with professionalism, displaying these professional qualities. Right. So this week, your assignments are that email of introduction, and this is the link to the assignment document itself we'll look at together in just a second. So you have that due by Thursday, and then the team exercise, again, I will be creating the team folders, and all of the teamwork will be done in the team folders. You won't have to submit that separately unless I tell you otherwise. So that will just be done in your Google folder. So let's look at this professional email assignment. Okay. So first thing, make sure you read the little section on writing emails. It gives you some really great tips and information about professional emails and how you should approach those. And then you're going to compose your own professional email of introduction. So if we look at the rhetorical situation here, the purpose is to introduce yourself to me, your professor. Your audience then is me, your professor. And your content is relevant information about yourself and your motivations and goals for this course. Right. The required components for design elements, you must have an appropriate subject line. A lot of people like to send emails without a subject line. I'm guilty of that sometimes too. But the subject line is important. It lets people know what the email is going to be about. So you need to have an appropriate, specific enough subject line. You need to have a formal greeting, dear so-and-so. You need to have the body of your email, obviously. And you need to have a closing such as sincerely or a thank you for your time or something like that. And your signature, which because it's an email, you're just typing your name, your first and last name, would be the appropriate signature there. Excuse me. All right, so the content. Things that you need to include in the body of your email. Your name and how you would like to be addressed. So if you have a name that you prefer that doesn't match what's on my class list, if there's anything else about the way you would like to be addressed by me and your peers, please put that in your email. What field of study? What are you studying? What's your current profession if you have one? What are your goals for this course, for your career, for life in general? Your main ones, not every single detailed goal. What are your specific technical writing topics that you are interested in? For those of you who are already in a career field or know what career field you're going into and maybe have some experience there, you might have some more specific topics than other people who are still not sure even what is part of technical writing. But after you read the first chapter, you might have some ideas, some things that you're like, oh yeah, I definitely want to study these things, learn about these things. What are some of the skills that you have that you are working with, that you're proud of, that you've developed through hard work, whatever skills? And then anything personal that can help bring you to life as a real person, give you some dimension beyond just the words on the page. And I didn't say this before, and I really honestly just thought of it now. If you wanted to include attach a photo of yourself, that's fine. You don't have to. It's not required. It's not going to count against you. If you haven't done that, or if you choose not to do that, that's just something that, some people might want to do, because it would be something personal. But again, because it is personal of a nature that some people might not be comfortable with, that's okay. For this assignment, you don't have to. It's just something I thought of right now. Style. It should be professional. Professional does not mean robotic, though. It needs to be formal in that you're using proper sentence structure, grammar, punctuation, word choice, that it's not filled with slang and things. But it still needs to be a warm document. It needs to be respectful, but it needs to emit positive energy and be conversational and friendly. So again, you want to make yourself a real person to your reader, and you want to do so in a way that kind of invites a two-way conversation. It should be efficient, so you want to limit yourself to 300 words maximum. Longer than that, emails tend to not get read. Not just by me, I'm not saying that, but like in general, this is a general thing that long emails, once people get to about that 250, 300 word mark, after that, they might just start skimming or just stop reading altogether, skip down to the end and then close it out. So keeping your communication efficient is something that we'll be working on this semester, which is really much different than your composition classes where you're encouraged to expand and expand and expand. Tell me more, tell me more. Here we're like, tell me only the necessary. So keep it efficient. You want short paragraphs, 1 to 3 sentences with one main point each. So we're not, again, looking at long essay length paragraphs. We're looking at shorter paragraphs. So in technical writing, often you will see shorter pieces of information and many more pieces. It'll look like more paragraphs, but they'll all be quite short. Some of them could even be, just one sentence. And your sentences, again, you also want to keep those fairly short. 10 to 15 words is a good length for that. So if you are used to writing long, convoluted, compound, complex sentences, you want to think about how you can break those up into shorter, more straightforward sentences. And of course, you want to be accurate, which about yourself, you should be able to be accurate, giving factual information. You want to be clear. So making sure that everything is clearly stated, that you've chosen your words carefully to be as specific as possible, that you avoid slang and cliches because, you know, as they're overused, they become meaningless. So that's what you want. And then your email should be sent to me at my GRCC email account address, which is right here, from your GRCC student email account by noon on Thursday, the 1st of September. That's your assignment. So all of the assignments that I give this semester for your main work will be set up similarly to this. They'll all be in a Google document, and they will take into account these different required components, the content, the style, and the design elements that you have to have. And they'll give you your rhetorical context and what your assignment is and when it's due. So if you ever have any questions about those, please let me know as soon as possible. And I think that is all for this video. I know we've had a lot of videos, 3 videos this week, and they've all been fairly long. That's not going to be normal for those of you who are kind of concerned about how you're going to watch all these videos. You may have several short videos, but by short I do mean like a 5-minute video here and there. One thing you could include in your email if you wanted to, or I might just send out a form to find out if the majority of the class would prefer one long video for each week that covers everything, or short videos broken up throughout the slides so that you could watch, you know, a 5-minute video when you have time, and, you know, here and there throughout the week as you need them for your assignments. So you could let me know that in your email if you want to, but I think I will create a form and see what you prefer, and I'll just go with whatever the class majority wants. All right, so again, this is the end of the week 1 material. Contact me if you have any questions or concerns, and I wish you all the luck. I do look forward to reading these emails. This is one of my favorite parts of the semester, is that little starting to get to know you.